Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, our mission is all about demystifying a seriously high-stakes, technically rigorous process. We're talking about migrating employee data from SAP SuccessFactors over to Oracle Fusion HCM. Now, if you've ever been involved in a major HR or finance system transformation, you know firsthand that moving data between two massive enterprise platforms, it's rarely as simple as just clicking a button. So today, we're going to break down the exact technical architecture, the unbreakable rules, and the hidden traps of this complex conversion. Okay, let's dive right in.
Right off the bat, here is our primary constraint, and it's a big one. How do you migrate data when you can't even access the source system? In this specific architecture, we're working completely locked out of SuccessFactors. No API calls, no direct database links, absolutely nothing. Instead, the integration team has to rely entirely on a single customer-provided flat file. This constraint completely changes how we have to approach the whole conversion.
So you might be wondering, why are we even doing this conversion in the first place? Well, SuccessFactors remains the absolute HR system of record here. It handles hiring, performance, careers, the whole shebang. But the business is bringing in Oracle Fusion HCM to handle time, labor, and complex project costing, which eventually feeds right into ATP for payroll. Meaning, employees absolutely must exist in Fusion HCM to log their time, even though their primary HR data lives over in SuccessFactors. That is the critical bridge we are building today.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, SuccessFactors meets Fusion HCM. Second, the four-wave approach. Third, staging and two-tier validation. Fourth, loading data and decoding errors. Fifth, fixing data without duplicates. And finally, reconciliation and final sign-off.
Section 1. SuccessFactors meets Fusion HCM, the constraint and the catalyst. Let's get into it.
Because we literally cannot query the source system. The integration architect has to step up and take absolute control here. You can't just casually ask the customer for an employee file. The customer isn't going to know that Fusion HCM requires specific date formats, or precise legal employer names, or legislative data groups. So the absolute rule is that the integration team must strictly drive the initial file specification. Every minimum required field has to be defined and agreed upon in writing before any technical work even begins. Because think about it, if you miss a single field, the customer has to regenerate the entire file, and that stalls the whole project.
Section 2. The four-wave approach, structuring the chaos. Now, a successful conversion isn't just a one-off event. It's a highly disciplined sequence. We break it into 4 distinct waves. Wave 0 is setup. This is where the functional team ensures all target structures like departments and jobs are actually built in Fusion. Then we have Wave 1, the trial conversion. Think of this as a full-volume dry run in a test environment to measure exact timings and catch bad data. Next is Wave 2, cutover. This is the real deal, the actual go-live, where we execute the conversion for real within a very strict downtime window. And finally, the future wave, which handles the ongoing daily sync of new changes.
Section 3. Staging and two-tier validation, the guardians at the gate.
Let's break down the core 5-stage process. First up, the flat file is uploaded directly into an autonomous transaction processing or ATP database using a super simple Apex user interface. Second, we run our validations right there in staging. Third, we generate Oracle-specific HDL date files. Fourth, we load those files into Fusion HCM. And fifth, we reconcile. Now, what makes this architecture so robust is that there is absolutely no hidden middleware here. Every single step is direct, transparent, and completely human-controlled.
Now, during that second validation stage, we run a two-tier checking system. Think of it kind of like a set of filters. Tier 1 catches the structural boulders. Are there mandatory fields missing? Are dates in that strict 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day format? Are the employee IDs actually unique? Then Tier 2 acts as the fine mesh filter, catching the pebbles. Do the job codes, departments, and legislative data groups actually exist in the target Fusion HCM environment? The goal here is simple. We want all these errors to surface in our staging database way before the Oracle Loader ever sees a single row of data.
And listen, there is a hard, non-negotiable line in project management here when it comes to who fixes what. Integration architects own the Tier 1 errors. If a date format is wrong, they adjust the staging transformation. Easy. But Tier 2 failures? Those are almost always Fusion setup gaps, not data quality issues. If a department just doesn't exist in Fusion, well, no amount of data massaging is going to fix it. Functional consultants absolutely must remediate those Tier 2 gaps during Wave 0, way before the real load ever begins.
Section 4. Loading data and decoding errors. Navigating the Oracle HDL minefield.
So Oracle HTL does not let you just dump data in randomly. No way. There is a strict, unbending dependency sequence. You absolutely must load the core worker record first. Only when that exists can you load their work relationship with the legal employer. Once that's locked in, you load their specific assignment, their job, department, manager, and finally, you attach their salary. If you try to load an assignment before the work relationship even exists, HTL will just reject it outright.
But look, even with perfect staging validation, you are going to encounter HDL errors. It's just a fact. Let's demystify the top 3 you'll see in the rejected records file. HDL 100 means you missed a mandatory attribute. Maybe a field was left completely blank. HDL 200 means a parent record was not found. This usually happens if you messed up that strict loading sequence we just talked about. And HDL 300, that's the dreaded duplicate record, meaning the system thinks this exact employee is already loaded.
Let's talk about something called a cascading failure. Because of that incredibly strict dependency tree, HDL errors operate just like a domino effect. If an employee's core worker record fails to load because of one missing field, well, the system won't find them when it tries to load their work relationship, so that fails. Then the assignment fails. Then the salary fails. One single bad data point just triggered 4 separate errors. And this leads us to the absolute secret for managing business panic during cutover: root cause analysis. Behind the scenes, in your staging tables, you mark all 4 of those failed records as Fusion_error. But, and this is crucial, when you generate your error report for the business stakeholders, you do not report 4 separate errors for one person. That artificially inflates your error count and just causes total panic. Instead, you pick up the very first domino. You surface only the top-level root cause error so the team knows exactly what single issue they need to fix.
Section 5. Fixing data without duplicates. Safe reloading procedures.
So the crucial point when doing partial reloads is maintaining intense status discipline in your staging database. If an HDL job partially fails, you can't just blindly resubmit the entire file. If you do, records that successfully loaded the first time will trigger that HDL 300 duplicate error we talked about. You have to write logic that safely resets your data statuses, marking failed records for correction, while leaving successful ones permanently marked as loaded so they are safely ignored on the next run.
Section 6, Reconciliation and Final Sign-Off, the ultimate victory.
You cannot just take HDL's word that a job succeeded. You must execute a mandatory 3-way match. Consider this brilliantly simple requirement. The exact number of records the customer provided in the original source file must perfectly equal the number of records marked loaded in our ATP staging database. And that must perfectly equal the number of records we can query via the live Fusion HCM REST API. To put that into perspective, if you start it with 5,000 records, you need to see exactly 5,000 records in Fusion. Only a perfect 3-way match grants us that cutover sign-off.
And this brings us to our absolute foundation for the future. Immutability is non-negotiable. That is the core design principle of this entire architecture. That SuccessFactors system-generated employee ID that gets loaded into Fusion as the ORISG system reference, it is the permanent anchor. If that ID changes, the entire cross-reference breaks down and future updates will either fail completely or create duplicate ghost employees. We definitely do not want that. I want to take a second to give massive credit to Biz Insight Consulting, whose technical architecture and implementation guide provided the exact blueprints for this explainer. Their methodical framework transforms what is usually a chaotic, hair-on-fire process into something highly predictable, controlled, and, most importantly, auditable.
And that leaves us with one final provocative question. We've just conquered the massive one-time cutover, but really, this is only the beginning. The business is going to hire new people tomorrow. Are you prepared to design the automated daily sync that will keep SuccessFactors and Fusion HCM perfectly aligned every single day? That is the next great challenge. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this deep dive into data conversion empowers you on your next technical journey.